Welcome back to United States of Australia. I am the Aussie guy, and we started early for a change. Very unusual for us, but we're all ready to go. We've all done our research for this week. It's one of the more prepared or better prepared jobs we've done for the show, and that's because we have a special guest this week, which I'll introduce in a moment. But first of all, back after a week off. He was working hard last week, but back to join us, just Josh. How you doing?
Doing good, Ozzy. How you doing, brother?
Good. I forgot my Ohio State hat today. I've been wearing it the last couple of weeks, but you've got yours on.
Yeah, I figured I'd fill in for you today with it.
Yeah, good. I do have my Reds shirt on underneath this.
Nice.
See, but it got a bit chilly, so I had to put the jumper on.
Yeah, I like the jumper. I like the green.
Yeah, it's Cricket Australia, so matches the background and everything, so it works. Just can't do the old green screen if I'm wearing this. Anyway, let's get to our very, very special guest this week. And if you're listening on the podcast feed, which has just been updated, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening on the podcast feed, I recommend getting on over to the YouTube channel to check out the video. We are joined this week by the very lovely, from WATP, Lucy Tightbox. How you doing?
Hello. Hi, guys.
Hey, Lucy.
Thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate you giving us your time on a Saturday morning.
Thank you very much for having me.
No, we appreciate it. And I guess we better introduce the last member of the team, a man who, thanks to Cayley, just saw his penis for the first time in decades. Robbie the Mariner fan, how you doing?
Just surprised you finally updated the podcast.
Well, I haven't yet. But, but you know,
so
by the time people
haven't yet means maybe in 6 months, then you'll get
No. It's happening. We are actually also joined. He's just popped in, and he's on video. He said he had connection issues, so we weren't sure. But all the way from Ukraine, our man Jay Scope. How you doing?
What it is? Are we on the live air?
We are on the live air.
Yeah, we went early.
Wait a minute. Robbie, you're wearing something different today. Oh, no, this is Cayley, right?
Yeah.
It's confusing, I know.
How y'all doing?
Good, good. How you doing?
Doing good. I don't know how long my connection will stay good, but I'm in it to win it.
Stick around as long as you can. Any drone strikes imminent, or
no? But it's pretty crazy. I was talking to somebody the other day because right next to where I live, there's like a mall, and they have these Ukrainian soldiers in there. Just basically grab like any man who walks by. They're like, "Let's see are you already signed up? If not, if you're over 25, we're summoning you." And I'm like, man, like in America, we haven't had that since Vietnam era, right? So it's like kind of surreal. It's like, wow, is this what it's like? And I even got summons on my door. It's like, hey, if you live here and you're this age, report. Wow. And it's like, fuck, man. Like, imagine the fear. Like, if you didn't want to go, you don't want to fight, and you get this message. So it's all kind of surreal, and it throws me back. It makes me think of what my parents, grandparents must have felt, Yeah,
it's pretty crazy, man. Like, it's sometimes we don't hear from you for a few days, and your mind starts thinking, and you start to worry. So it's great to see you. It's great to see you.
Yeah, good to see you guys too.
All right, we'll get on over to Lucy Tightbox from WATP. We'd like to get to know Lucy a little bit before we get going with the show. And Lucy's here. We're going to talk about a film later on called Chopper. It's an Australian film. Came out in like 2000 or 2001 about an Australian, notorious Australian criminal and standover man, Mark Chopper Reed. It's a fascinating story. I've followed this guy for years and years and years. So I was interested to get you guys all to watch it. And we're going to talk about that. And the reason I thought of Lucy for that in particular is because you are very much a movie buff, aren't you, Lucy? Would you say that's one of your more favorite things is watching films and taking in films?
This is a wonderful way to spend a Saturday morning, but my normal Saturday morning is start watching movies and don't stop until the end of the day. I love movies. I could watch movies all day, every day, and be the happiest person in the world.
It's amazing. Right. So much so now that you sort of got into the podcast game with WATP and you're a regular there, and that's Scoops. There you go. Just as we were talking about it before, Scoop's getting the siren. All right. Hope everything goes all right there, Scoop. But So and then you sort of kicked off into your own podcast now. Once Over with Cayley, which I believe is a movie review podcast. Tell us a little bit about your podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started Once Over with Cayley actually a couple of years ago, but I didn't get really into it. Life gets in the way. Watching too many movies gets in the way of reviewing too many movies. And I started it just kind of as a way to talk about what I love. I had done in 2021, I made a goal for myself to watch 365 movies that I had never seen before, because I'm always rewatching movies. I love this movie, so I'm going to watch it 15 times. And so when 2022 rolled around, I was like, well, I need a new project. So somebody said to me, well, why aren't you reviewing movies? All this stuff about them. Why not go talk about them? So I started doing Once Over with Cayley and talking about movies.
Very nice. What's some of your, what's some of the episodes you sort of recommend? What's some of your favorite films that you've covered on the show?
Yeah, one that I really love that I did kind of earlier on that not a lot of people check out is Night of the Creeps. And I love that movie. Fred Decker, absolutely amazing 80s horror. It is a movie that's super fun. And that was where I felt like I finally hit my stride when it came to talking about movies and editing videos, because I had never done any of that before I started the review channel. So I'm really proud of that review. I think it's just a fun little, talking about the stuff I love.
Yeah, very nice. I know you are sort of into the horror genre. I've heard you talk a lot about horror films. For you, what's better for you? Like, do you like more gore or do you like more shock? Sort of things that make you jump, I guess.
Yeah, I like psychological and I like a lot of gore. So I like things that make me feel. So I could be feeling happy or sad or terrified or disgusted. It does not matter how I'm feeling. As long as I am feeling something when I'm watching a movie, then I love it. So for me, the jump scares don't do a whole bunch. It's one moment, you're spooked for a second, and then you're fine immediately after that. And that's relatively boring to me. It's not something that's going to stick with me and haunt me until the end of my days, which is what I want.
Yeah, I like that thought. I remember watching Saw and the scene at the end where he's sawing his foot off. And obviously you can't actually see it. You're just seeing his face and that. But that it affected me physically, that scene. It's an incredible thing that movies can do to you at times. What about comedies? Do you have any favorite comedies?
I do, but what are they? Oh man, I'm picky about comedies. I don't like a lot of the I guess more popular comedies. So like Wedding Crashers is one of my least favorite movies of all time. I hate that movie. I think it's stupid. I don't get the comedy in it. I like a lot of older comedies. So I like a lot of the Marx Brothers is a big example of some comedy movies that I like. I like the quick-paced jokes. Don't let me sit on it. Just kind of move on to the next thing. I'm trying to think of recent comedies that I really liked, and I can't even think of anything.
I have a question. About you? Speaking of picky, so like when I was a kid, there was like two absolute no's when it came to movies and TV, and it was anything in black and white and anything foreign because I'd have to read subtitles. And then when I got older, it totally changed, especially the foreign films, especially once I came across like my first, I don't know, maybe a Korean or Chinese epic adventure, and it was like, holy fuck, I was missing out on these movies just because I didn't want to read, something on the bottom. And so that changed for me over the years. So I'm curious how you, obviously you said Marx Brothers, so you're okay with the black and white, but what about like foreign films or foreign horror or whatever?
Yeah, I had a really similar experience. When you're a kid, I think you're like, that's boring. I don't want to watch old stuff. I want to do new, cool, hip stuff. And in addition to that, I definitely didn't want to read. I was like, no, why would I watch foreign films? I want to watch the dubbed version of the movie if it exists. I have no interest in doing any of this. And I think that changed for me probably when I was around maybe 16 or 17, and I started getting into Akira Kurosawa films. And that was like a huge, huge shift because those are both black and white and dubbed and subtitled. So that was a huge shift. Watching all the Godzilla movies was a huge shift for me also. A lot of that Japanese cinema really, really changed my opinion on what I got excited about.
Oh, I'm just going to jump to the chat for a minute because I'm very honored. The Baloney Factory is here, and anyone that's not familiar with the Dabbleverse, the Baloney Factory, head on over to his YouTube channel. He's done animations of Stuttering John, where it's I don't even know the show. You know it, don't you, Lucy? The Stuttering John animations are based off Aquatine
Hunger Force. Yep.
Yeah. I'm not aware of that show. I've never heard, but the Baloney Factory's clips with Stuttering John and Joey C and different characters. It's an honor to have you here, Baloney Factory. I was told there would be Vegemite with each live viewing. You can have it all, mate, because I think it's disgusting. I'm not an Australian that eats Vegemite. I hate it. He also says Aronofsky. I don't know how to say that.
Aronofsky's Pie and Clerks.
Oh, right. Aronofsky's Pie and Clerks, black and white, and then he says they're the bestest. I love Clerks, great movie. Lots of laughs in that one. Now I've lost my. God damn it! Excuse me.
So I want to know what are some good comedy movies that I should check out that are more recent?
Myself and Robbie are two people that rarely see films. So any comedy I tell you will be from a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I imagine, look, between me and Robbie, I would say you've seen every movie we've seen.
I like Knocked Up, but that was one of the few comedies I've ever seen.
I thought you were going to say 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Nice. Have you seen Spies Like Us in the 80s?
You know what? It's funny. I haven't. That one's been on my list for a while, so maybe I'll need to work on that later today.
I take that one as a pretty good comedy. I mean, I like Chevy Chase, and I like Dan Aykroyd back then.
Yeah, me too.
I just missed that era where like there was this pocket where Adam Sandler was everything to me. Like everything he did in that pocket was just like, this guy, he gets me. Like this is perfect for me. And then I figure he hit that spot like a lot of comedians where they have like a kid and then they start to like, oh shit, I gotta maybe change my content a little bit. Next thing you know, he's appearing in films with like Chris Rock and David Spade as like fathers and stuff. It's just like,
well, okay,
it's still funny, but it's not that edgy stuff that he was doing before. But anyways, I feel like it dates me that's the era where it was best for me with the comedy, because there'll be funny stuff here and there, but I don't have this like section where it's just like everything or a particular person where everything is funny. Maybe Will Ferrell is one of them too, but I don't know. Nothing lately.
Would you say his stuff dropped off after Big Daddy? Like to me, that was like one of the last funny ones, kind of with him, and then it just started overkill.
Like if you're a big enough fan,
also.
Yeah, Mr. Deeds.
Mr. Deeds. Yep. But then you get to a point where then you find out you're like, oh, I really like this film from them, and everybody else is like, I'm not so sure. And then you're like, is it because I'm just too big of a fan? Like Little Nicky was that for me. I was like, this is funny, and people are like that was probably the dumbest thing I ever saw. And I was like, but you don't understand his acting method.
Was The Disaster Artist? I think that's what it's called. Was that considered a comedy based?
I would call that a comedy. Yeah, based on Tommy Wiseau.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite movies the last couple of years. So
that
shows
that's
how
definitely
little I
a good
go
one.
to theaters.
Look at you, Robbie, dropping it. I was not expecting you to pipe in with something. So well done.
Yeah.
Roger Dodger is going with The Castle, another Australian film. Yeah, I never really got into it.
I
It
saw
gets
that.
quoted
I
a
saw
lot.
that mentioned when I was searching for Chopper. When you told me about Chopper, somebody was talking about The Castle and saying this is great.
Yeah, I think "Tell Him He's Dreaming" is one of the big quotes that came out of that film. Tell him he's dreaming. But anyway, I think Baloney Factory is fucking with me and trying to get me pronounce shit that I can't pronounce. But Dark Comedies is where it's at. Banshees of Inisherin. Did I get that right, Lucy?
That's how I would pronounce it. Yeah, I'm bad at pronunciation too, though.
Ed Sheeran's in it.
He saved me on the other one, so although he did spell the other one wrong because he was missing a K, I think. And Triangle of Sadness. I've never heard of either of those films, but
Triangle of Sadness is great. Both of those movies are great, but Triangle of Sadness is, you should almost go into it blind. There are some scenes where I watched it at home and I had to pause the movie and I like walked around in a circle and I was like, what the fuck? Like absolutely amazing. That's a really good one.
Did you do this while you were alone? Like sometimes I'm like, I'm such a loser because I'll have a reaction like that and I'm the only one in the room and I'm like, what?
Yeah, that was exactly it. I was like, who can I text message right now to talk about this movie with? Like, it's a good one. A lot of great funny scenes in there.
Mm-hmm.
I got to say, for me, getting high for one of the first times I'm watching Friday was just a
no.
You ain't got no job.
Yeah,
dude. When I got Friday, I bought it on whatever format I had it on. I just moved and I made the mistake of not setting up like my cable ahead of time, and things are better today, but at that point they were like, oh yeah, we'll set it up in a week. So I had no cable for like a week, and so I'm like, oh, you know what DVDs do I have or whatever. I swear I watched Friday so many times that people were getting sick of me because anytime anybody mentioned anything, I would have a quote from Friday and I would immediately zing, zing, zing. So yeah, there was a point there where if you would have asked me any trivia from Friday, I would have been your phone a friend.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many things I love to quote, but unfortunately I can't quote them these days, particularly not on air. But the old we started getting high. I used to always quote that one.
My neck, my back, my neck and my back.
Very good. The other podcast thing that you're involved with, Lucy, is WATP, and you guys have a competition these days, which when it was you, Andy, and Carl were all going head to head, you were dominating at that point. You guys decided to switch it up. You work in teams now. How are you finding the format, and what's it like? Like, is it difficult pulling all these clips? Is it a tough listen going through all this stuff?
Yeah, I love working with the guys, but I have started failing now that we're doing teams. I am the worst with teams, it turns out, bad at teamwork. I really like pulling the clips is hard. Let me start with that. I did not realize how much work everybody puts into Who Are These Podcasts. I was like, oh yeah, it's just easy. You find a shitty podcast, you talk about it, everything is fine. You got to listen to a lot of garbage to be able to get anything that is funny, because people are boring and nobody wants to listen to something boring. So usually when I'm looking for a podcast, I'll listen to 10 or 15 horrible podcasts before I get one that is funny enough for me to bring it to the table.
Yeah, that's the key, isn't it? Because boring is just boring. You do have to find something that's comedically bad, not just bad. I'm involved with a show called Get My Go, which is very similar to WATP, but we started out just on one guy. It was one guy in particular, and it started off as a goof. It wasn't supposed to be a show that's still going after 4 years, but I listened to hundreds of hours of this guy's stuff, and I found some absolute magic. But when it all boiled down to it, we got about 3 hours of content out of the hundreds of hours I listened to. So yeah, I do get what it's like. It's tough to go through all that stuff. Do you find yourself zoning out at times and going, I don't even know what they've been saying?
Absolutely. I usually listen to podcasts when I'm walking to work, and it takes me about a half an hour to walk to work. And I'll walk and then I'll arrive at work and I'll be like, did I even listen to a podcast? What just happened here?
No, that's what's good about the ones that do have comedically bad moments is they'll snap you out of that, because you'll be bored for a while and then you'll hear something, you go, wait, what did they just say? And you skip back, what's going on? What have I not been listening to? So no, it's definitely a tough time. And of course, one of the just the absolute best, I think Stuttering John is just the perfect mix of everything when it comes to bad, that just makes him this perfect comedic fodder. It's amazing that this is still going. It's, it clearly is some sort of mental issue with John where he can't see the reality of things. But first of all, for you, do you just listen when you go in with WATP, or do you have to listen to John yourself, or do you choose to listen to John yourself in your spare time?
So I try to be as prepared as I can possibly be. I listen to John sometimes in my spare time, but I have a new rule, which is that anytime that I'm listening to him, I have to be working out because I hate working out. And so it makes me not listen to him with all of my spare time. And it gets me slightly healthier when I am listening to him. So that has functioned well for me, and that has made me stop listening to him quite as much as I was. Right now, I'll kind of try to, before we actually start an episode, I'll try to get the highlights of what has happened within the last week. Sometimes I get that news from WATP themselves, and sometimes I'll kind of pop over and see what the hell he's tweeting out and, want to not ever read anything he says ever again.
Yeah. He's amazing. He's an amazing compilation of stupidity and arrogance and delusion and all of these different things just bundled into one. Guys, I did give you guys a bit of an assignment to check out some of WATP's clips of Stuttering John, and I do want to get to your guys' thoughts on Stuttering John, and if you guys have a standout moment that you've picked up on from checking out Stuttering John videos. But Lucy, I did want to the other day, so my son is about to have his 5th birthday, and we're planning a birthday party for him. And so he's invited some kids, and 2 girls he's invited don't like each other. And one of the girls said to him, "Why did you invite her?" And my son went, "Well, you don't have to play with her." And she was like, "Oh, I guess so." And then they carried on. And when my son told me about that, I was like, wow, he's more mature than Stuttering John and Kevin Brennan and a lot of these 50, 60-year-old men.
They're actual children.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that the most recent example of everybody behaving like actual children was when everybody was in Atlantic City recently, which isn't even so recent anymore because things are changing every single day. But, this is grown ass men trying to fight each other, bad mouthing each other. It's comical. I mean, I can't imagine behaving like that in public.
Yeah, it's insane. And the way John conflates things, and it was funny actually, Carl doing the wet brain thing the other day. And so I think John actually thinks, in Atlantic City, he did do something physical to those guys. You know what I mean? Like every time he tells the story, it's about how he was gonna whoop their ass, and he gets winded walking to the door. And I love this. This is one of my favorites from the week. Someone said, "John, you get winded walking to the door." He's like, "No, I don't." He goes, "I get winded because I have OCD and I have to try and avoid all the cracks and blah, blah, blah." And it's like, I mean, don't you have to be on your toes when you're a boxer and moving around? It's insane that he wants to fight people. But that was one of my favorites. Another one was, he said, and I super chatted this to Dabble Point today. He said, "Most people over 40 know who I am." And I just quickly Googled, how many people in the world are over 40, and it's like 2.8 billion. So it's like, well, he thinks at least 1.4 billion people know who he is. It's insanity and delusion. Lucy, do you have a favorite moment from the recent times of Stuttering John that really had you cackling?
Oh my God. Oh man, I don't even know. He's so unbearable. So I kind of fluctuate back and forth between him of I hate him, then I feel bad for him, then I hate him immensely, and then I'm laughing at him. So I think that most recently, when it comes to laughing at him, his explanations for why he is so full of saliva and boogers always get to me. I mean, it's disgusting. And of course, Carl always plays those clips on Who Are These Podcasts. So we always have to see him wiping away boogers and, spit falling out of his mouth. I can't watch it, but it's hilarious.
Yeah, no, the runny nose and everything, and I agree with everyone's thoughts. I think it's black mold or whatever that's causing his nose to run. And it's just amazing. Like, I don't know that even when I've had a cold, I don't know that I've ever really needed to wipe my shirt and my nose while doing a podcast. It's amazing that he's constantly just got this tap flowing from his nose.
Most recently, he called a big, gigantic booger that he had. He referred to it as a loogie. And I was like, you're so stupid. You don't even know what is falling out of your face. Ugh.
That's just it. His nose is running from his face. It's so ugly.
Falling off.
And his lovely dye job of his hair a few weeks back, where all of a sudden he's like jet black.
Did he go like goth with it too or something?
Yeah, that would be funny.
That would actually be really funny.
When you're saying this brings up the only thing I can think of the Stuttering John videos I watched was they kept freezing a clip of drool. He drooled from the upper part of his mouth or his lip. And I just was like, what the hell is this shit?
It was the one the other day where it looked like a load. It literally looked like a load of cum.
That one was the craziest.
Yeah. It looked like Robbie on a Saturday night. So that was all you could think of. Josh, Scoop, did you get a chance to check out any of the?
No, I was too busy.
No.
But he's not my favorite guy just because much like Lucy, like my reaction to him, it's like he almost infuriates me. He's so stupid.
Well, that's the thing. I love when he's stupid and particularly arrogant about it, like while he's being stupid. Like the other day, Lucy, where they were talking about survival of the fittest and who came up with that. And then he brings up the Wikipedia and he says, see, look, it comes from Darwin. And then like literally the next paragraph down, it says who came up with the phrase. And he's sitting there acting all fucking proud and talking down to somebody when the evidence is on screen. Like, it's amazing when you can be that dumb. But sometimes I agree with Kyle. Sometimes I look at it as like, nah, this is too stupid. This one he's leaning into, like that silly thing with the graffiti, and he's like, oh yeah, that's how he draws his S's, and his wife has an S in her name, and he signed it. Like, he can't be that stupid, surely. Do you have that back and forth, Lucy?
Yeah, I definitely think that he is performative a lot of the time. I think I tend to think that he's performative less than other people do. I generally think that is sincerely who he is and that he's just that stupid. But there are definitely times where he plays into it, where he is being purposefully dramatic. And those are the times that I really have to turn him off. There are things that I can deal with. There are times that he makes me mad, but when he is acting poorly, I can't do it anymore.
Yeah, I think actually when he's got someone else with him, you tend to get more of who he is.
That's a good point.
When he's by himself, he does mug to the camera and all that stuff. When he's talking to someone, I used to love his interviews. I think he's the best interviewer in the world. I've never seen an interviewer make every interview about himself, no matter who he's talking to. It was one of my favorite things to listen to. Robbie, what about you? What have you picked up from Stuttering John?
So I didn't listen too much to the audio clips, but I kind of fell down rabbit holes of some of his video stuff, and he always is drinking a beer. It's remarkable. There's no video of him sober, I guess I would say. So, and then the animated stuff was like, I must have scrolled back like over a year just watching all the what's it
the Aqua Teen Hunger Force stuff by Baloney Factory.
Yeah, that stuff's great. And then the one you showed, like when we first started the podcast, about how he was like, "Yeah, I've been preparing. I've been reading your book. I looked at it this morning." And it's like, how have you been reading the book if you just looked at it this morning? It was like some political science book.
Fucking
he was
acting
like
it was better than that. That is actually one of my favorite clips, and I don't think Carl ever covered it. And I forget the author's name, but John brings the author on and then explains to his face that I didn't bother trying to find the book until this morning. Then I couldn't find it. So then he was like contacting the guy's publisher or whatever to get a copy of it so he could read it. And his whole thing was, when he was in college, he would cram. He would take a couple of no-dos and he would cram and he would get good grades. So that's why he thought he could cram this guy's book. It's like, way to bring
like 750 pages.
Yes, way to bring a guy on and say, I have no respect for you whatsoever. This is how little I care about you. Yeah, I thought that was phenomenal. Any other of the people you guys cover on WATP? Do you have any other favorites? One of my first favorites was Patrick Michael. What about you?
Yeah, I like Patrick Michael a lot. I always have a good time. I'm really enjoying Joe Matarese right now. It's a shame that he's not posting more stuff because I think that would have been my new favorite. But I also really enjoy the Opie stuff. Is just insanity, and I can't get enough of that.
Yeah, it's weird with Opie. Like, you know, Stuttering John has the delusions of grandeur, but Opie was legitimately on the second biggest radio show in the country. You know, his name was on it. So to see what he is today is it's pretty incredible. All right, we might move along. We're gonna get back to movies and get onto our review. That everyone has been lovely enough to watch the film Chopper. I was going to quickly go around the horn because I like to say here, Lucy, we're tangentially sports.
Yeah.
So first of all, question that nobody gets any heads up on, but I like to ask it because I know Americans are very ignorant to Australia. So, Lucy, I know you're not a big sports person, but can you name me your favorite Australian athlete?
No. Absolutely not. No. I don't think that I could name any athletes right now. That's very bad.
Any athlete at all?
I don't think I could name a single. I mean, I was just going to say there's the swimmer, and then I forgot what his name was. And there's a biker the one who cut off his balls. I don't remember anything.
Wait,
no, I don't know anything.
Lance
Armstrong. Cut off his balls. Yeah, that's the one. Cancer, whatever.
Yeah, right. You made it. You named an American athlete. Well done.
I was so close.
I think America kind of denounced.
I'm going to give you credit.
Unclaimed him.
Yeah, I'm going to give you credit for that swimmer. Given that you struggled to name one of the most famous cyclists of all time, the fact that you know that there are famous Australian swimmers, I'll give you that swimmer.
I could say another athlete, O.J. Simpson. There, that's an athlete, right?
That's what he's most known for.
Yeah.
Not the movie Chopper.
No.
Well, he chopped some people, but.
But I did ask you about sports movies, and you said you do have a favorite sports movie. We're going to go around the horn on this one. But yeah, Lucy, kick us off. What's your favorite sports movie?
So I love the movie Big Fan. which is a dark comedy. Here's actually a comedy that stars Patton Oswalt. And it is about a big sports fan who listens to podcasts all about sports. And it is great.
Very nice.
I think specifically about the Giants. That's how little I know about sports. I think that it's about the Giants, and I don't even remember. The New York Giants.
Which Giants? Oh, the New York Giants, the football team.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yes, that is the thing. Well done.
Yes.
Josh, what about you? Favorite sports movie?
I like a lot of sports movies, but I'd say The Replacements is up there for me for one of them, just because I'm a Keanu fan and I like Gene Hackman. But if you're gonna go real sports, Hoosiers is probably my fave. It's a great movie.
Nice.
It's a great feel-good flick.
Jay Scoop, how about you?
Man, I love so many of those movies. To pick one, I don't know. A lot of people don't like Rudy, and I really like that movie, but I don't know. I guess I was really into Notre Dame also, so that might have had an effect on that. But I guess if I had to go with one that has just all the check marks, the motivation, the story, the twists and turns, I would have to go with Hoosiers, the basketball movie.
2 for Hoosiers.
I was hoping you'd say Little Giants. I really was.
Dude, that's a great one
movie.
Of many, though. There's so many, especially the kid ones. Sandlot, Little Giants, Sandlot, all those. Good. But if you had to pick one, then you have to go with, man.
Robbie.
I'm not a huge sports fan movie, which is kind of ironic because I'm a huge sports. Yeah. I don't know. Like all the ones I've seen are before I was 18, before I was 18. It seems like. So the stuff I liked was like Angels in the Outfield, Sandlot, like movies that don't really hold up today. So, yeah. I guess Benchwarmers at the time was good, but now I look at it, I saw it was on some channel the other day. I was like, holy crap, I can't believe I actually laughed at this stuff. So there's that.
We've had a bit of
change our tastes.
Yeah.
What?
Baloney Factory's back. I enjoy a good Kevin Brennan meltdown, don't we all? He seems to be slipping away bit by bit though, all the time. Baloney Factory seems to know a little bit about Australian sport. He's named Sonny Bill Williams and the Rabbitohs, but yes, fuck, he's from New Zealand. Yes, that is correct. Sonny Bill Williams played a lot of rugby in Australia, but no, he is a Kiwi. But thanks for joining us, Baloney Factory. For me, and JT in the chat has hit it. For me, it's Major League, and Major League is top 5 of all movies for me.
Yes.
I absolutely love it. There's so many great, funny moments. I saw it as a kid. I was obsessed with sports growing up as a kid, and baseball movies are really good sports movies. I think some of the best sports movies are based
Bull
around
Durham.
baseball.
You just made me think of Bull Durham right now when you said that.
Yeah, Bull Durham. That's a good one.
There you go. So, yeah, Major League for me, I think, so many quotable moments. Carl uses a drop on WATP from Major League. Dynamite dropping money. So, yeah, I love Major League.
He wants to sacrifice a live chicken.
And Matt Wilson, yes, thanks for putting Robbie in the bottom right. Yes.
I still don't know what that means, but I'm assuming.
Bottom right to get my
Every time I tell you, check out Get My Go, episode 53.
I'm busy.
Bottom right, and you'll find out. But what do we always joke about with you that's not your weight? That might give you a clue.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, that explains it.
Yes. Anyway, let's get to the main event. The reason we're all here. I got you guys to watch the film Chopper. Based on the life of standover man Mark Chopper Reed. Now, for me, I think I was like 18 or something. I was getting on a plane and I was in like the bookstore in the airport and I saw Chopper Reed's first book. He ended up writing like 10 of them. But I grabbed his first book and I was reading it on the plane. And the first chapter of his book was talking about him digging his own grave as someone had been sent to kill him, and he was digging his own grave, and he's explaining that and how he got out of not being in that grave, and blah blah blah. So I was like, this guy immediately off the bat, I thought fascinating, interesting, and this movie is one of my favorites as well. I've always loved this movie, possibly because I've always been interested in Chopper, but I wanted to get, obviously, Lucy, you're a film buff, and you know what you're talking about when it comes to film. So I was very interested to hear your thoughts on it, and I obviously wanted my co-host to learn a little bit more about Australia along the way. So Lucy, you kick it off for us. Give us your overall thoughts about the film, and then we can sort of get into some more details of some of the stuff we enjoyed or didn't enjoy or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. So I had never seen this before. I'm really glad that you suggested that I watched it, because I watched it and I loved it. My first initial thoughts on the film were, so this came out in 2000. Chopper came out in 2000, and the first thing that I started doing was comparing it to the movie that came out in 2008, which was called Bronson, which is about Britain's most notorious criminal who spent almost all of his life in solitary confinement. So thinking about the movie Bronson and starting to compare it with this, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to like Chopper quite as much. Bronson is a very artsy kind of film, so you see it's a little bit more staged, and Chopper feels a little bit grittier. So I just wasn't entirely positive that I was going to get super into Chopper, but by the end, I was so excited about the story. Chopper is a really interesting character, and of course, real criminal. And it was neat to see him as such an antagonist and yet still like him at times.
Yeah, it's one of the amazing things about him. Every first date I've ever been on, I do the whole, I know I stand on the roadside and give the whole explanation, and then I always tell them, and Chopper Reed taught me that. So yeah, there is those moments where he's very charming, very likable, but then there goes into the psychopathy, some of the rage and the stuff he gets into. Josh, what's a general overall thought you had from the film before we get into details?
Overall, I mean, it was a good film. I liked it. I really did like it. Chopper is a weird motherfucker. That's all I gotta say. And like Cayley was saying, you do feel for him at times, but there's times when he's very unlikable. I don't know. I liked it. I really did like it. Gritty is a good word for it. It felt like a Sons of Anarchy type of documentary behind the scenes. It was good. I liked it. I don't want to give away what all my takes on it, but I mean,
yeah. No, like I say, I just want everyone's general impression, and then we can get into what everyone really loved the most.
Is bloody take the word for fucking in Australia? Because he says bloody so many times. I'm like,
yeah, it's bloody has kind of gone out a little bit over the years, but yeah, back then, absolutely bloody. Okay. Yeah, for sure. Scoop, I know you watched it first. Before these other guys, you've been sitting on this for a couple of weeks. You've been trying to talk about it. So, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, making me wait, you butt ulcerated knucklehead. My favorite quote from that film. I loved how this guy. I mean, he would just change on a dime. A lot of people might not know, but I worked as a correctional officer for over a year. And you get to know what these people are like and the certain types of people. And but there's the one thing that he totally reminded me of is how quick somebody can change on a dime from a nice person to just full throttle. Like that was him 100%.
Yeah, for sure. What about you, Robbie?
I thought it was good. I don't watch many movies, so I kind of found it was, I don't know, it was weird. The first scene I thought was like a dream sequence because it was, I don't know, it just, the entire movie was odd to me. Though I like the wrap up of it though, like the last 20 minutes I thought was the best.
Where
part
Tom
of the
Brady
film.
showed up. I swear, there's a kid who shows up. He looks just like Tom Brady.
Yeah,
it's got to be.
Also, just the random side note. in certain scenes, the guy looks just like the catcher for the Mariners, so that was kind of
you would pick that up, Robbie. You would.
Yeah, so it's kind of disorienting because he looks just like Cal Raleigh. So who's known as the Big Dumper. So
I did not have that on my big board.
Well, you wouldn't figure the Big Dumper would show up in Chapa.
Yeah, but
bloody hell.
Yeah, interesting guy. Him getting stabbed over and over, and he's just like, yeah, keep stabbing me. That I figured the plot twist on that was that he had like Kevlar underneath his and that it was just slightly puncturing him, and then he opens. I'm like, this guy is just insane. Like, he doesn't care if he dies.
And the next day, he just does push-ups because he could. You know what I mean? He's got all these stitches and that. He's like, I'll just do some push-ups.
But even the guy stabbing him, like, he's just like, oh,
it's in
and he's like, you realize you keep stabbing me, like you're gonna kill me. And he's like, I'm sorry, Choppa.
Exactly. Let me jab you one more time.
He's like, it's all right. Come here, mate. Come on. Come here. It's all right.
So weird.
Lucy, what were some of your standout moments from the film?
I really liked both the opening and the end of the film, where we are getting to see Chopper in his cell with the correctional officers, and he's watching himself on TV. And you can just see how proud he is. He's like, look, I'm doing it. Like, I'm really great. Everybody cares about me. He says at one moment in the end, like, oh, that's it? Like, that was the end of the news story? Why aren't they still talking about me? Obviously, I'm the greatest, and everybody wants to talk about me all the time. I think it just showed how self-indulgent, the real Chopper was. And I think that Eric Bana did an amazing job of portraying that character.
Yeah, and I had the DVD back in the day and had all the extras and that. And yeah, Eric Bana went. Chopper lived in Tasmania at the end of his life, and Eric Bana went down to Tasmania and spent I forget, maybe a week with him or whatever, and had him tell stories and just learned his mannerisms and the nuances and all that.
So I had a question about that, actually. I saw that somewhere. I was like looking up information. But didn't Chopper die in like 2015, and then this movie didn't come out?
No, this is 2000.
Oh wait, no. Never mind. I don't have a question about that. I know how years work. I know how living and life and all of those things work. I think that's really a good way to get into a character. I think that's a really, really, I think he made the right choice on that. And again, it makes his character feel a little bit more real, because we want to have the common enemy of this criminal, but you don't want to just follow around a criminal for a whole movie. You want to like the person that you're watching. So
yeah, and that was, I mean, I'll go next. My absolute favorite scene from the film, and it sort of covers all of his emotions in one scene, and like all the different parts of his personality, and that is when he walks into the cell and stabs Keithy George in the neck multiple times. And so he just boom, and then he backs off and he's like, shit. He's like, and he's all freaking out about what he's just done, and then he's like, goes to, you'll be right, Keithy. You'll be right here. You want to smoke, and then it's the guards come and he's leaning against the cell, and it's like, and they're like, what's going on? Oh, nothing. Oh, geez, Keithy's done himself a mischief. It's just, and then
I'm telling you, it's not just the movie. Like, I witnessed this in prison. People, it's crazy.
Yeah. And then just off you go, Keithy, off to the sick bay. It's whinge, fucking whinge. I just thought, it just went from being a complete psychopath to then swinging it back around to, oh, there's the larrikin that you can have a laugh at and enjoy and follow along with, And one of his favorite quotes always was, because when he wrote his books, he didn't get any of the profits because they were like, it's profiting from crime. And he was like, it should go to the victims. And he's like, who were me bloody victims? Bloody drug dealers. You don't want money going to bloody drug dealers. Like, he was kind of a little bit of a Robin Hood kind of situation, except he wouldn't give to the poor. He'd just keep whatever money he got for himself. But in terms of he was just he was just harming other criminals, and I think that's another part of it that kind of does make him a little bit likable, and how you can follow along with him. Scoop, what's the standout for you?
Yeah, and actually, I'm glad that Lucy actually said Eric Bana's name, because, and I find this sometimes to be a mark of a good actor, when you're thinking of the movie and you only think of the character and you're not even thinking of the name of the guy who played the character. Because I'm like, oh yeah, that's Eric. That's not Chopper. That's him. So he did such a good job, and of course, I most know him from, like, the Batman, his stuff with the Batman movies and stuff, and this is got to be before it, right? I can't remember the timing year wise.
Yeah, this was his first breakout role.
Yeah,
he'd been doing sort of sketch shows and comedy acting, and then he did this, and this is where he then started to get over to Hollywood and all that. Yeah,
that's cool. I mean, to me, it would have been no doubt at that point after watching him play that character. So, but like I said, my favorite thing really was just how they really captured him, the way he would flip flop. Because I'm telling you, like, I would be next to these guys in the prison, and you'd think everything would be okay, and then just bam. And so you just really had to be, regardless if it seemed like a calm moment or not, you always had to be ready for such a thing. And so that's why I like how he's going back and forth from, like, oh, everything's okay, oh, I stabbed guy in the neck, oh, hey, oh, I'm sorry, hey, you need a cigarette or whatever. It's just like, it's so crazy. So that's my favorite thing, is just how they really captured this like he's like this explosive material, always waiting to go off. I don't know about you, but I would not have wanted to be in his small circle, because it just seems like it didn't matter who you were. If you pissed him off in a moment, that could be it.
Josh, what about you?
Well, as Jay Scoop just said, I would not want Chopper as my friend. He would not have been in the circle one way or the other. Not going to happen. But, taking things from there, I didn't read his books or anything, but just the movie itself, he's definitely bipolar. There's two sides. He switches on and off really fast. I think his mom left the family. I'm just guessing by the father and him having the little joke about it. And then the pinnacle moment was him when they told him he wasn't getting out of H division. And he said, watch this. And I mean, I had to turn away for a second, but chopping off the lobes of both ears and telling the guy to do it, just get on with the fucking thing. Do it. Don't be scared.
Don't hack at it. Just rip it off.
And as he's got looks like earmuffs on, covering the blood pouring from both sides of his head. He's looking at the boss like, told you I'd get out. Told you I would.
You never want to hear Chopper say challenge accepted.
Exactly. Yeah. It was like, oh, I got this. But
he was unflinching. It's crazy. Like,
yeah, the pain, like Robbie was talking about, when he was getting stabbed in slow motion, it's like he didn't care he was getting stabbed. He was more upset about who was stabbing him. It was a friend. It was like, oh my God, I can't believe you're doing this. Do it again. I can't believe you're still doing this.
And he's thinking about the psychology of it all, not the physical moment that's actually happening.
Yeah.
But it was a great character. I just, when you say notorious criminal, I say, okay. But I mean, and the stuff with Neville too, that was pretty good. That guy you could dislike very easy. Cocky son of a bitch.
Neville Bartos, are you fucking tip rat?
Are you fucking Neville? Are you fucking Neville?
Robbie, I know you said it was weird and all of that. Do you have any standouts? What caught your eye?
When he shot Neville, and then he just drives him to the hospital. Like, it was so odd. Like, who tries to kill a guy, or at least tries to like inflict possibly mortal damage for money, and then it's like, okay, get in the car, I'll take you to the hospital now. Like, that's just wild to me. Like, that's something where you think you would like try to figure out a way to hide the body. Instead, he's taking him to the hospital.
That's just something you have in court later in case.
That's where when you have those descriptions of the types of criminals and psychopath and sociopath and all this, and you're like, somebody who does what he does, you don't think that there would be remorse mixed in there, and yet that's part of his recipe. It's just crazy.
Exactly.
No, that's great. Lucy, any other like sort of summations? Anything you think they could have done better? give us a bit of a rating, what you thought overall of the film.
So I had a lot of trouble with the little song and dance scene. Do you guys remember this? Okay, so there's a scene where everybody is telling the story of Neville getting stabbed or shot, and everybody's kind of telling their little story, and they do it to the tune of what is it? Auld Lang Syne. I can never say the name of that song, but also the same tune as America the Beautiful. And they like do a little rhymey poem, and there's like spotlights, and it was just very different than the rest of the movie. And I felt like it was trying to be a little too artsy fartsy. So I didn't really enjoy that scene. That could have been better for me. It was a weird choice.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
We could have done without the donger chopper. I don't know if anybody remembers that scene, but goddamn. Fucking shout out white boys.
What rating would you give it, Lucy?
I usually rate things out of 7 thumbs up. I would give this a 5 out of 7 thumbs up.
Nice. Excellent.
I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I mean, for me, look, at the end of the day, it is one of my favorites of all time. So I'll give it a 7 just because I love it so much. My other favorite thing, again, just for being amusing, when they're all like given their story for the Keithy stabbing, and he says Jimmy Lufton was watching a bull ant crawl across the table, and I was watching Jimmy watching the bull ant. I think it's just a great story to get out. Obviously, Scoop had some issues and had to duck out. All right, Josh, rating out of 7 thumbs up.
Okay, 7 thumbs up. I'll give it 5. I'll give it 5.
Robbie,
4.5 or 5. So I have it there.
Yeah, very nice. So everyone enjoyed it. I'm glad.
Mm-hmm.
I did realize I was thinking about other Australian movies that I had seen. This was not actually the first Australian criminal-based movie that I have seen, because I just saw Nitram, which came out in like 2001-ish or 2021, just recently, and that is about Martin Bryant, or it's based on him anyway.
Yeah. You should check out Wolf Creek.
Oh yeah, yes, I will.
Yeah. I think that'd be something that you're into.
Yeah.
All right, so thank you for watching Chopper, and thanks for giving us your thoughts on it. And there's one more thing that we asked of you for this week's episode. Are you ready to play Bullpucky? I
am very excited.
Now you are taking on Robbie this week in Bullpucky. Does someone want to nominate to go first, or should we do closest to the hole between 1 and 10? All right, pick a number between 1 and 10, Lucy.
7.
And Robbie?
1.
Yeah, you lucked out because 7 was the number. Lucy, would you like to go first, or would you like Robbie to go first?
I'll have Robbie go first.
All righty. So for those of you that are new here, people like Baloney Factory, what we do with Bullpucky is you give a headline to a story from your life that is either true or Bullpucky. Your opponent gets to ask 3 questions to figure out what the answer is. So, Robbie, take it away. What is your headline this week?
I once slipped in dog pee and shattered my ankle.
So now I get to ask 3 questions?
You do, yes.
Okay, so did you go straight to the hospital?
Yeah.
How long did it take to heal?
4 or 5 months.
Did you shower before you went to the hospital?
No.
That's an interesting question.
Yeah, that is actually.
That is your 3 questions. Do you think Robbie's story is true, or is it Bullpucky?
I think that my theory of doing yes/no questions was probably the wrong way to play this game. I'm learning as I go. Next time I play, I will learn more things. I think that is a true story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
lucky Robbie wasn't playing me because I knew this was a true story as a fact.
Did I tell it on
You've
there?
told me this story before, yeah.
Oh, well, yeah. So we had a puppy and we have wood floors, and so I came down the stairs, put my left foot down, and then I put my right to go that way, and then it just hydroplaned, and my foot ended up behind my neck, and the entire impact of it all, like all the bones pressed up against the left side of my ankle that were formerly on the right side of my ankle, and so they were worried. I guess they thought it was like a compound fracture, but it wasn't. But yeah, they had to take me in a hospital they had to take me in an ambulance to the hospital, which when my parents called 911, they're like, yeah, he broke his ankle. And they're like, well, can you get in the car and make it to the hospital? Because like broken ankles people break their ankle and it's just like a certain bone and they can still put weight on it sometimes. And they're like, no, you don't understand. Every bone is broken in his ankle.
Oh, no.
And so, yeah, that was not fun. And then it was 3 months before I could put any weight on it. Then 1 month with the boot. And then for 3 months, they had these screws sticking out of my ankle. And that was always disgusting to look at.
For the average person, it'd only be 2 months, but for Robbie.
Oh, wow, thanks.
Handle that weight. If you think Robbie sounds like he was in bad shape, you should have seen the floor. But anyway,
or the dog.
Yeah. He probably kicked the dog in the head afterwards, I bet.
No, he was licking me in the face while I'm writhing in pain.
Oh no.
That's great.
So yeah, that was
well, he's looking out for you. You want to make sure you're okay. All right, Lucy. Well, you're in a strong position here. If you could fool Robbie, you win the game. But if Robbie is correct, it comes down to mine and Josh's judging as to who wins, and that means you're a strong possibility with the simp vote. We'll see how we go. You hit us with your headline.
All right, so I got my nipples pierced on a first date.
Whoa! That's a hell of a headline, Robbie.
Yeah. Wow, I wasn't expecting that one.
I love your work, Lucy. This is brilliant.
I'm so bad at this.
Yeah.
There's no good questions to ask me now, is there?
I know.
You're too shy to ask all the good questions at this point.
Yeah. Were you drunk?
No.
Was it a dare?
No.
How old were you?
20.
All right, Robbie. What do you
She had
think?
to think about what her age was, so I'm going to say true, but I could be wrong.
Lucy.
You are correct. That is true.
All right, please do tell, and as much detail as possible.
So I was in college. I was actually probably 19. That might have been a lie of an answer. But I was in college, and a guy was asking me out every single day, and I kept saying, no, I don't want to go out with you. And he was like, he was a rugby player. He was not my type at all. Very, we were just complete opposites. And finally, I agreed to go have coffee with him. And I was like, I want to go get a piercing right now. Bring me to a piercing parlor. I want to go. And he said no. And I was like, what do you mean no? Like, you want to go out with me? I'm finally hanging out with you. I was completely shocked. So I started messing with him. And I was like, come on, you want to get something pierced too. We can get your eyebrow pierced. We can get your dick pierced. We can get your nipples pierced. And he looks at me and he was like, well, I'll get my nipples pierced if you do. And I was like, okay, let's go. So we went and got our nipples pierced on our first date. We dated for 3 years after that.
Wow. Well, I mean, it's a hell of a commitment to, to do a piercing together.
Some give rings, some give fucking nipple rings.
Yeah.
Yep. I actually also had a first date where we got tattoos together, and he got my name tattooed on him on a first date as well.
Wow.
That was stupid. That was a very bad idea.
That's a bold move. Yeah, wow. I'm trying to think of that quote from Dodgeball. The commentator.
Dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
No, that's an interesting strategy or whatever.
Interesting strategy, Carlton. We'll see if it pays off. Yeah, that's phenomenal. Do you still have the piercings, or did you?
No, I got rid of them. I hated them. Yeah. I hated them. I don't understand why people they get in the way. They're no fun. No fun.
Fair enough. One more question. I don't know. This is a little bit of fun, and we'll go around the horn on this one. What's your favorite word to refer to the vagina? Like slang word.
Yeah. The most common one that I use is probably pussy. That's like if I'm like just talking about a vagina. I do like saying vagina though also. Yeah. I think it shocks people.
Yeah, it's got to that point where the medical terms sound really gross. Like if I was to say I masturbated until I ejaculated, that sounds so gross. You know?
Yeah.
You know, so
jerked off.
Yeah, exactly. Sounds great. What about you, Josh? What's your favorite word for vagina?
I got a bunch, but I mean, I would go with Cayley on this. Pussy is probably what I use the most, but I know my wife does not like it, so I tend to use it all the time. She hates it. So can you use a different word for JJ?
That's my least favorite word for it, actually.
JJ's favorite.
So if we're being like sarcastic or I'm just in a group chat, I use the word cunt a lot. And a lot of people hate that word, especially in America, which is part of the reason why I use it, because I know people hate it. But if we're just like, it'd probably be pussy if it's just talking about it in a non-insulting way.
Yeah, Louis C.K.'s got the bit about it, and I agree with him. I don't like the cunt is not a good word for vagina. Like it's a great insult, but like I wouldn't call a vagina a cunt.
That's true.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I call a fucking idiot that just cut me off in traffic a cunt. You know?
Yeah.
I also call my best friend a cunt, and pretty much anyone I see. So you know that's. Bloody Factory's jumping in with a few, so we'll roll through them. Slam hole. Oh
God.
Blood fountain. Meat kazoo. Tongue warmer. Vertical ham sandwich. Piss flap. Shaft holder. Thank you, Bloody Factory. Appreciate it.
You know, Oh, okay.
I was going to say Arby's.
The vertical ham sandwich one reminded me of when in my last job there was I worked at like ironically enough a gym, and so but there was a pool element to it, and the men's locker room was like broken, and so there was like somebody put up a sign but didn't do it right, and so like normally men and women would be smart enough to know like don't go in the locker room where women are going in, or vice versa if you see them going in. But there was all these old people there for their morning swim, and I guess they just didn't care, and so they were all walking in the same one. And then this one guy, or not guy, the aquatics director was like, yeah, there was canoes everywhere and the men. And then I'm like, wait, what? And she's like, oh, you've never heard of anyone refer to a vagina as a canoe? And I'm like, this doesn't work. So there's that.
I've heard of like hollowing them out like a canoe, but not.
No, I don't know what I was more shocked about, the terminology or the fact I heard it at work at like 7 a.m. when I'm still trying to wake up. So
I'm confused by Bologna Factory's meat kazoo.
Yeah, that one.
I guess maybe
I would think a meat kazoo would be a penis. Yeah. No.
Yeah, good point.
Unless you're blowing into the vagina, in which case, please don't do that.
Over it, right?
His flaps is an interesting one.
I've been partial to Snatch. I do like Snatch, but my absolute favorite, because it disgusts women, is Slit, and it just sounds horrible. But Slit is one of my
the slam hole whisperer.
Yes.
If you're blowing it. Come on, what are you doing?
Bloody factory. Don't tell me how to meet Kazuya. I love your work. He's still going. Hound bound. Oops.
Is there like a thesaurus he's got out for
right. We're wrapping up, Bloody Factory. That's enough. That's enough.
The love glove.
Thank you very much, Lucy, for coming on. We really appreciate you taking time to watch Chopper and then come on a Saturday morning. Let everyone know about Once Over with Cayley and everything you got going on.
Well, thank you guys so much for having me. This was awesome. I really enjoyed getting to talk with all of you, and I'm so happy that I got to watch Chopper. You can find me on Who Are These Podcasts every Wednesday, where we talk about horrible podcasts. Never forget to vote for me so that I don't have to do extra homework when it comes to our competitions there. And then you can also find me at Once Over with Cayley on YouTube. Cayley is spelled Cayley, and I do movie reviews there. Lots of exciting stuff right now. I just recently did a review of 5 movies that you probably have not seen from the year 1975, which actually includes an Australian film. It includes Picnic at Hanging Rock. And I'll be reviewing Being There soon. And I just recently got a Patreon where I am doing unsexy popsicle reviews, but also sex toy reviews. So a little bit of not sexy, a little bit of some sexy. And that is also Once Over with Cayley.
All right, get over to that Patreon, fellas. That sounds like a good time. And yeah, like sign up to WATP's Patreon because then you get to watch the video live. So you get Cayley there on screen or Lucy on screen. So no, very, very good. Thank you, Lucy. Josh, hit your plugs to wrap it up.
Well, if you're in the Cincinnati area, you can find me in Milford on High Street trimming some shit out. But you find me on X at NJHunt02. And it was nice seeing Cayley on the show with us today. She makes us all look better. And Lucy, there is a movie. I'm going to ask, have you seen Big Trouble in Little China?
That's the only movie that I own in every single format, including Laserdisc.
Yes.
I love that movie.
One of the greatest movies ever.
Agreed.
Cool. Very good. Robbie, fuck up all our plugs. Go.
Yep. You can find me at Mariner Robbie. You can find us, the podcast, at the worst titled Twitter handle on Earth, which is USA of AUS Pod. We're still taking suggestions. Yeah, it does not make any sense, but it's what we're going with for now.
Yeah. Very good, Robbie. For me, check out Get My Go. Hopefully we're going to record a show next weekend, so there'll be a new Get My Go coming up. But yeah, youtube.com/Get My Go. The producer is Mike Durbin, and he has a Pro Wrestling Tees store, prowrestlingtees.com/Mike Durbin. You can get an At That Sussy Guy t-shirt. Because on X, I am At That Sussy Guy, and just imagine that Aussie guy and put an S where the A should be. We'll catch you next time on United States of Australia.
Hey, where'd Scoot go?
Yeah, I think he must have dropped out. Maybe got what's the word I'm looking for? Drone attacked.
Yeah. I saw